Howdy people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show and the return of the Premier League preview. It's been a minute. I've missed the show. I've missed the lads. We've just been catching up off air. Sorry if there's a little bit of confusion with the time as well, because I'm aware that I scheduled it for 8:30 and then put out on social media. It was to be honest, I didn't even know the time myself, right? So I'm a bit all over the shop, but we're back. We're going to talk about the Premier League games, obviously. The penultimate. Penultimate's the one before, isn't it? So the last, yeah. The last. You can tell I'm being a uni, can't you? I'm like using big words and that. So yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about the England squad and the World Cup as well. We'll just get straight into it. But before we do, let's welcome everyone. Right. So we'll start with Kev. How are you, mate?
It's been a nice quiet week in Liverpool land. as weeks go, it's been steady on, not an awful lot of drama going on, like just the usual rigmarole. But no, all good. Turned 50 in the week.
You did? Oh, yeah, you did. I've seen that on social media. Happy birthday, bro.
Thank you very much. It's been a good week, busy week.
Yeah. Yeah. What your I know we were chatting about it just off air before Corey and Oscar came in, but what are your overriding emotions? Is it excitement, nervous, apprehension? Like what is it? What are your thoughts?
With Liverpool, I don't know. Yeah. I don't, and that's the thing. It's the fear of the unknown and what could turn out. We've been in good spots I personally think FSG have been really good owners. Hicks and Gillette were an absolute disaster, and the Moores family just couldn't compete. So I'm just hoping that FSG as an owner group understand where the fans are coming from and will sell to people who get us, get the fan base, get the match going fan base, and it will be what it'll be. I mean, it's going to be capitalism at the end of the day. It's not, but it's the not knowing that's scary, because we know what needs to come in to compete, and it's how much are you willing to sell yourself in order to do it. And I don't know. I haven't backed myself into a corner, but if we become a plaything of an oil state, I've openly said I'll walk away. Won't see a hiding her hair from me talking about Liverpool, commenting about Liverpool. Nothing. I won't put a penny towards it. Won't go to games. Won't get involved in anything. And I know plenty of people on our podcast who are over there this weekend who've said exactly the same thing. It'll be difficult, but if you understand the city and understand where it's come from through things like Hillsborough and what that did to the city and where it come from, you understand the fan base is really important. And the fact that even after the Super League, we managed to get a fan union basically onto the board at the club, so that the fans' voice have to be listened to, and that's into the club's charter. That's legally binding. So we'll see what it is.
Yeah. No. To be honest, I was listening to the Athletic pod just talking about it this week, and they were saying they were sort of the same opinion of yourself, that they don't think that Liverpool fans would go for it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. There probably is something in that, but the way they were talking as well, it was more they expect more American investors as opposed to rich oil states.
Yeah, well, one name that came out of the woodwork during the week was Steve Ballmer, the guy who owns the LA Clippers. Earned his money from shares in Microsoft. Huge sports enterprise. If he was the one, and it's a big if, I think he's got something to do with Atalanta as well. Okay. But if he is the one, his personal net wealth is above both City's owners and Newcastle's owner, which is scary. Yeah. Especially given the fact that the rest of us are scraping. We're talking about gazillionaires. And look, the truth is, anyone who's online who says they know shit, no fuck. Pardon my French. It's all guesswork, and in 6 months' time, someone's got to be able to post a comment and say, "Look, see, I told you so," and monetize it. It's the game.
It is, man. It is. You got to play the game, haven't you, mate? You got to play the game. Oscar, we're all sort of maybe not on the scale of Liverpool, but we heard during the week as well, just on that the 49ers are getting their ducks in a row. It would seem there's noise coming out that they're preparing, the money, the funds are there, so maybe we'll be due a takeover. What's quite interesting as well, and they spoke about this on the Liverpool thing, is that the dollar now is the strongest it's ever been against the pound. So if you're going to buy now, and I thought it was quite interesting that the 49ers have got that cash ready, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously with January, we've only got a couple of games between now and January, if you think about it. So obviously there might be a four. Again, this is all guesswork. As Kev said, it's all guesswork, really. There's all sorts of different, there are stories about the 49ers were going to take over after the first Bielsa season. It was just they were getting the foot in the door, and that obviously didn't happen. So, yeah, it's all guesswork, isn't it? But for me, it does seem, in terms of it looks like January feels like a big target. We know January is going to be very important for us, whoever is owning us at that point. We know despite the last two Premier League results, we still need to get business done. So for me, it's just all about looking at that for this moment in time. I think we still need to focus on survival because it's so tight. And then it's then into next season where I think the excitement builds if the 49ers are to come in, because I'll be honest, I don't know my NFL. I'm not going to lie. I don't know my NFL at all. I don't know if the 49ers have got a good track record, bad track record. I've kind of heard two different sides of the story. So that's probably going to be something I read up quite a lot on during the World Cup, to be honest. When England are out, I'll probably be reading up on that quite a lot. So
when England are out, I missed that. Sorry, I missed that.
When England are out in the group stage, he's got a couple of weeks then to read up on it. I knew that was it's one of them. As Kev kind of said, it's the unknown, isn't it? It could be good, it could be bad, it could be the exact same. But yeah, it'd be interesting if the 49ers did come in, what the futures would be of the likes of Victor Orta, Mangus Kinnear, etc., etc. Be quite an interesting time for Leeds. But I still think no matter what, the excitement comes next season. I think this season's still about, I don't think we should go, even if we get in like a massive transfer budget, I think we have to keep it relatively calm, just make the signings that will keep us up this season. And then next season, a bit like Newcastle, I know to a much lesser extent, go for it the season after. That's what I think is going to happen. But listen, if we're getting linked with Mbappe in January, I'm not going to say no.
Other than the takeover chat, though, how are you doing, bro? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. I don't know where I stand with Leeds at this moment in time because, the half time at Bournemouth, at home to Bournemouth, I should say, I've never seen Ellen Road that down since before the Bielsa days, really. It was a really toxic atmosphere. And then we just turned it around. But, I think there's some really exciting talents emerging, which is good to see. Ganonto, Crescencio Somerville, Greenwood, obviously making a big impact. But I don't really know where I sit with Leeds at this moment in time because we're just consistently inconsistent, really. It's hard to gauge where we're really at, but I'll take where we are in the league for the time being. If you offered me at the start of the season, I probably would have took it at this point in the season. There or thereabouts, maybe a little bit higher, but I'll take it for the time being.
Definitely. I think at half-time, mate, it was very much...
It's time to go!
I can only imagine.
And then at full-time, it was... Do you know what I mean? That's how it went, man.
It's going to be a fickle season, though. Honestly, I think it's going to happen quite a lot this season, where it's going to be you're down here and then back up there and then you're up here and back down there. I just think it's going to be the nature of our season, really.
Definitely. And Corey, mate, I can't lie. I feel like I've missed my right arm on these videos, pal. I haven't seen you for a long time. How have you been doing, brother? Other than football, of course.
Yeah, very busy at work, so it's kind of taken my mind off how poor it's been. Who sat here now getting the up with West Ham after a very good 2 years, but I suppose it was only due. And look, I don't even really know what to say about them anymore. To be honest, I think Palace last week was one of the worst games I've seen in a long time from us. Like Vieira did an absolute job on us. Like they did a job on us. We were ridiculously poor. And then Wednesday, I could feel it. And I think I spoke to a lot of West Ham fans, and going to the ground, it was a bit like, do we have to really? Because it kind of had that feeling of they're just going to get something. And Moyes is under. he's under pressure. I'm a patient person, clearly, so it's very, very different for me. But there's a lot of people now that are very disappointed, and I do get it. The expectation's gone up this season for me, at least in terms of maybe not necessarily being in that 5, 6, 7. We know how competitive it is, but in terms of the way that West Ham play, it was kind of an opportunity to kick on. But only thing I'd say is Moyes with time has proven that he can turn it around and he can build something. So that's kind of what I'm leaning on, and not really looking forward to tomorrow.
Is there quite large sections of the fan base that are Moyes out, or certainly?
It's definitely. I mean, look, you can't read everything into social media, can you? I'm sure if you speak to most people at games, it's probably a little bit more patient, but there is frustration massively, I think, in terms of the way that we're playing. And the crazy thing with it all was, even when we were winning against Bournemouth 2-0, or we were winning a 1-0 in the Conference League, it was never convincing or dominating in a way that it should be, really. And so I think everyone's kind of losing a little bit of patience with it. But we'll see, mate. He needs a result tomorrow. He really does, for his sake, I think. And I mean, let's just hope we just turn it around after Christmas and start kicking on. But it's been tough. But I'm good. Don't worry about it.
Good. I'm glad you're good. Before we do touch on the Premier League this weekend, though, I do want to touch on England. I think there would have been reason for outcry had, say, Maddison not gone in and other names that were mentioned. But after that, I personally think it's a good squad, like with what was on offer. But I was still seeing like outcry on social media, get Gareth gone, all this sort of stuff. When in actual fact, I think it's a good squad. So before I want to ask you like about certain individuals and that, I just want to get your opinion on the squad going into the World Cup. Oscar, thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. And I think what you were saying about the outcry, it was about players that were only going to be on the bench anyway. Like Ivan Toney, I personally felt should have gone. I think there might have been one or two other ones where I thought, yeah, maybe they could have gone. But realistically, is that going to change the tournament that much for us from a successful to a poor tournament and vice versa? Probably not. But I think no matter what England's squad was going to be selected, it was always going to be relatively strong. And it does look strong, particularly going forward. Defensively, it looks better than what it did at the start of the season. Obviously, Ben White's coming to form. I just think it's more about the starting 11 now. Is Gareth Southgate going to be brave and start people like Ben White, even though he's not really shown he's been willing to do that in the past? But yeah, in terms of the squad itself, I'm happy enough. We'll see what I can do. But
sorry, I'm literally. So David Ornstein, tier 1, top tier, gets a lot right. Bournemouth are exploring the possibility of appointing Marcelo Bielsa. Yo, I can't have that. Up the cherries!
I am now coming off the stream to go and cry.
What's going on there? Surely not, please.
See you later, guys. See you later, guys.
That would be a madness. Oh, sorry to interrupt that, but that's...
Nah, that can't be true, surely.
David Ornstein doesn't.
Possibility.
Ornstein doesn't put paper to ink unless there's something in it. There's a big jump though to be made from exploring the possibility to come in here to me and sign a contract.
Yeah,
you know, and it looks like Bournemouth are looking for new owners as well. So
well, they've got one, haven't they? It just says here was among topics discussed by new club hierarchy with prospective new owner Bill Foley in Las Vegas this week. Oh wow! I don't want that because we'll go down. I tell you what, we'll go down and Bournemouth will stay up, man. I'm telling you, and I'll be like, I told you.
Football gods have spoken.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Kiefer Moore's going to score like 20 goals in the second bit of the season.
Yeah, if you can stand after all the
managers going crazy now. Get Kiefer Moore in.
Yeah. Well, we've seen what he's done with his career. I tell you, man, the likes of Solanke and that they'll be next level. Oh, listen, man, that's a mad one. Right, okay. So I'll tell you what. I'll start asking you some individual things. Corey, you're a bit of a Phillips stan like myself, really. But there's been a lot of outrage about him being in the squad. Like, what do you make to that, bro? Because I don't understand it personally. He's done nothing but good things.
No, I get it. No, I do get what people are saying because it's just because of how much game time that he has. I do find it funny that when we start talking about players for the England team, people no one ever seems to get the balance of you can pick someone that's been in form for X amount of time, but also someone historically that's performed at that level. And Calvin, if he's half fit or 75%, or I think Gareth was saying that he's possibly not going to start, but you can look to introduce him later on. He has the experience at that level that England need. I mean, we're quite fortunate now in the fact that we've got, maybe less so from the 2018, but the 2021, that we've got players in there that have been to those final latter stages, irrespective of whether we feel it was easy or not. So I would take Calvin if he's fit. There are a couple in there. It's just Calvin. Callum Wilson is definitely one in there where you'd worry if he picks up a knock or anything in training, you lose that. So interesting. I know I don't want to take everyone's points, but I think Gareth's made a few risky moves here, and I think it could pay off massively. I think for me, he's got that balance right. Players that have performed before and players that are coming into form. So I'm happy with Calvin in there. Who wouldn't be? If Calvin's anywhere near fit and you can play him, you play him.
Exactly.
Bellingham's going to start, but
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with him. I think I obviously I'm a Calvin stan even still now. When he's at Manchester City, I still worship the ground that he walks on. Me, I can't lie to you. So whenever I see any sort of like, even Leeds fans were coming on to me saying, "You're better than that, Joe. Come on, he's hardly played a minute." And I was getting annoyed. I was like, "Who's going to replace him?" Like people are throwing names out to me yesterday saying, "Poor England, James Ward-Prowse, Eze should all be in there." And I'm like, "Are you fucking mental? Like going to a World Cup, like Eze is a top talent, but throwing Eze in there, no, not a chance. James Ward-Prowse, what? Really? He's been gashed this season. What does he do? He takes a decent set piece. I'd rather have James Maddison in there. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Who can give us what Calvin can? I'm not too sure. I think it's the right selection, as is Walker, just for that extra bit of experience.
I think he starts as well, Phillips. I think the fume will get even bigger when Phillips. I think he'll go Phillips instead of Bellingham in midfield. I think he'll want a Phillips and Rice pivot like he did in the Euros. I'm not saying that's what I'd necessarily go with, but I genuinely do think he'll go with that.
I think. Obviously, I think he said that he won't be able to play all 7 games or whatever it is if we were to get to the final. But I expect him to mix it up in the group stages. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was quite key that he mentioned about James Maddison's long-range shots, etc. Like, maybe he lines him up against Iran, with how Carlos Queiroz is going to set them up, etc. So it's all these different things. I think during the group stage, we genuinely might see chopping and changing. And then as we get into the latter stages, probably will have Calvin, Rice, Maguire, all them mainstays, if you like. Kev, as an outsider looking in, what's your opinion on the squad?
Look, Calvin Phillips should be nowhere near it.
You don't think?
No, if all things were equal, he's played he hasn't played 90 minutes in God knows how long. He should be nowhere near that squad. The fact that he's got 26 in the squad, you can gamble. And he's a gamble. If you're going to get a recurrence of an injury, you're going to get it early. And you'll find out quick. The thing is, if it doesn't, then you take him because his ability is there. Ability-wise, there's no question he goes. There's no one. I think he's probably England's best central midfielder to distribute the ball. But it is huge risk. Callum Wilson, massive gamble. The guy's Darren Anderton levels of sick now. If anyone's going to pick up an injury in a tournament where you're playing back-to-back games, it's going to be him. And Ivan Toney, for whatever of his ills, he stays healthy, he stays fit, and he's in form. Callum Wilson is a good striker. Don't get me wrong, if you can trust him.
Yeah.
This is what it all comes down to. It's how's Gareth Southgate going to line up? 5-3-2, 5-2-3. Then you have to look at the makeup of who he's brought with him. You play 2 central midfielders and maybe a floater. Then you're picking 2 from 5. You can trust Rice. You can trust Bellingham. Henderson and Phillips are your risks. Both of them are experienced. Both of them can do jobs. I still think England go as far as the quarterfinals at best.
Okay.
The way the groups are going to pan out, you'll top the group. Probably, more than likely, Senegal in the second round. Sadio probably won't be available. They're still a good side. You know, they've won the African nations, so they're a side that's comfortable and used to winning and used to playing together. So they'll be tough. They'll be physically tough and strong. But England should have enough to get through that. Then you're looking at France. And sorry, France are just too good. They just are. They're better, much better than England. England are a good, decent, solid.
Who's Mbappe? Who is he?
Yo, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the last tournament, they were knocked out by the Swiss.
We all know that was a robbery, Benzema winning the Ballon d'Or.
The way I look at it, I think if England get to our quarterfinals, this one is going to be tough draws. It's not going to be gimmies and, you know, sides that are going to roll over in fear. And the biggest problem is Southgate doesn't have an adventurous bone in his body. He was born cautious.
With some of the selections, though, like the fact that he's brought Maddison in, Gallagher's an interesting one as well.
Yeah. Do you honestly think, hand on heart,
No.
unless he's two down at halftime in a game, he's going to change it?
No,
he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the balls, and that's the truth. He's got an abundance of attacking, forward-thinking talent, and his mindset from a bigger player, and the way that England used to set up to tournaments, and the way tournaments generally used to be won, is the sides with the best back four, the best central midfield, that can keep clean sheets. They're the sides who win tournaments. That's his mentality going into this. And his mentality going into this tournament is going to be a back five, 2 holding mids. Harry will do something. That's the game plan. If that's good enough to win a World Cup, international football is finished. It should never be good enough to win a game of tiddlywinks. It shouldn't.
So basically, if England
but
win
it
the
shouldn't,
World
Joe.
Cup,
Come on,
it's finished, man. It's finished.
In fairness, when you think back to when you were a kid,
celebrating when Italy won. This is football's alive. Football's still alive.
But when you think back to when you were a kid, and you remember World Cup moments, I remember World Cup moments, right, from Italia '90. David O'Leary scoring the penalty for Ireland against Romania. We defended for 120 minutes against Hadji and crapped the bed. Hadji was brilliant on the day. Jack Charlton coursed that side to play hoofball over the top, up to whoever, Niall Quinn up front. Hope to God that you can get 2 or 3 Paul McGrath in or around Georgie Hadji, because God forbid you let him play with his left foot. Then you think back, you got Ronaldo, you've got Zidane, all these glory players. If a side playing boring, negative, horrible football wins, it gets replicated. Others start doing it. And then you start going, oh, do I really want to watch that? And worse again, do you want to pay Sky to watch that? No, no, and no. I want an expansive, open, attractive football side to win tournaments. I don't give a shit who it is. If England prove me wrong and play 3-4-3 and play with wingers and attacking wing-backs and go for broke and put balls out and win it, I'll be delighted, because I'll be peeling my missus off the ceiling for a month. But I don't see Southgate having the mentality to do it. I think everything he's learned in his managerial career goes against how to win something like this.
But Kev, do you not think, Italy aside, I think France won World Cup in Russia. I thought they were quite defensive and counter-attacking. Portugal won the Euros quite a bit ago. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that. Was it
against Greece.
They didn't even win a game, did they?
Exactly.
They didn't even win a game. Yeah.
Exactly. Is that not the way to win it now? Do you not think international football is that low a standard? You can win it doing that.
But it goes to the stage where, do you remember any of the players who were in that Portugal side? No, I don't. I genuinely don't. I can remember who was in the Brazil side from '94. You know, I can remember Argentina, the Dutch sides in the '70s. You watch videos of this stuff. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of football. I want to be able to look back in December, and when we all come back to talk about football, wasn't he brilliant? That Jewel, do you remember him when he was playing the second round for Uruguay? He was fantastic. Never saw it coming. I want those moments. I don't want to be talking about down 0-0 draws and the keeper making a great save in the penalty shootout, because I'd hate it. I'd hate for football to be that. I really would.
If we won it,
I know.
Trust me.
You're going to be insufferable.
I will be, man. I don't get, like, for me, I mean, Corey, what are your thoughts? Like, for me, it's just about bloody winning the thing, man. I don't care how we play.
It's not a very Bielsa way of thinking that, though, Joe.
I don't care, though, man. We've got
Bournemouth that doesn't matter.
It's always the thing, isn't it? Though, when you play like that, it's not just international football; it's Premier football. Like you sell your soul a little bit to win something, and if you don't win it, you're on that fine line all the time. I think football fans have got a little bit more patience. It's expansive, but you know what? I've watched so much of England go to tournaments and be poor over my lifetime that if they play horrific football and get as far as they possibly can, then it's fine. Because I found it. I mean, it wasn't objectively, it wasn't entertaining football. I appreciate that, but the moment
we beat the Germans and then we're in the final. Like,
I agree, but that was literally a bona fide counter-attack performance, exactly how you would play in that, and rode our luck and whatever. But yeah, I couldn't care. I couldn't care less. You know what I mean?
That Ukraine game, though, I was at the quarters, the Ukraine game. I tell you what, we played well in that game. That game gets forgotten about a little bit. I actually thought we played pretty well. In the knockouts, we started to play football. It was just in the final where we just got a bit scared of Italy in the final. But I thought we played good football against Germany and Ukraine. And Denmark was a bit of a rough one, but we got through that one. And,
how do you think he lines up? If you see the squad now in front of you, first game, how does he? If you were to pick an 11 now,
do you think against
3-4-3?
It has to be. That Iran game's harder than you think. The ranked 20th in the world.
Yeah,
still, it's going to be an awkward game. That
I'm not.
I think we'll win, but I think it'll be awkward.
It'll be awful to watch, won't it?
Yeah.
I don't think any of them games, even though we should win, are going to be enjoyable, because all of those teams will play exactly the same way against us. That's personally what I think, and the spotlight's going to be on Gareth straight from the go, because he will play a 3-4-3. I don't think he'll go 4-2-3-1. I'd like him to and open it up a little bit, but I can see him playing like that. But there could be tweaks on it. If Ben White comes in at the right side of centre back in a back three, maybe you push further forward. I don't know. There could be little things in there, but.
Did any of you watch the Spurs-Liverpool game last weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw the 3-4-3 the Conte put out. You saw two different halves in that game. You saw the half in the first half where we dominated the ball and Spurs retreated into their shell like they normally do. Then you saw the 3-4-3, how it can be played. And if you're brave enough and you've got, like Corey said, an attacking centre-back who can overlap and you can create overloads on the wings, and you've got wing forwards and wide midfielders who can cross a ball and who can switch play in a heartbeat, and you can see the amount of pressure that it can put anyone under. If he's brave, he can do it. If he's not, he won't. But he's got the squad to do it. But he's got to be brave. He doesn't have the centre-backs to defend. This is the problem. Harry Kane's a disaster. Oh, sorry, Harry Maguire is a disaster. Harry Kane is all right.
I'd tell you what, if he's a disaster, Kevin, might as well just carry on now.
Harry Kane's grandparents are from Galway, so we're claiming him. But Maguire is a nightmare. But you look at the others, Dyer.
I keep backing him, I'm backing him, Maguire, man. Another team in the tournament performance, I'm telling you.
Ben White is a good pick, because Ben White is a footballing centre-back. He can play either position really well. Kieran Trippier is good, solid, dependable right back. Trent's levels above if you're going forward. If you want an attacking fullback, you play Trent. If you want a defensive fullback, you play Trippier. Shaw is going to be vital, because having that left footer on that side who can attack and go on the outside, allowing whoever's playing at left forward to come inside, creating overloads that way. There's so many ways it can do it. But England have the players to go deep if they're brave. They have to be brave.
Do you think? I think what's an interesting thing is, do you think he will do? Like, I know this is mad because I'm advocating Maguire keeping his starting spot, but on the flip side, I'd probably take Sterling out. But then again, I can't really say that because Sterling's been like Maguire in terms of his England form has been phenomenal, hasn't he? You know what I mean? Whereas this season he's been pretty dire, but he's always, dependable on the international scene for us. So be interesting. Do you think it'll be Saka right, Sterling left, Kane through the middle? Is that what we think?
Saka right, Foden left, Kane through the middle.
So you think Sterling won't start?
No. I think if you're bringing someone like Sterling on 70 minutes and you're a defender, you're bricking it. But he's got the option to go 5-3-2 as well. If he wants to play Jack Grealish as an 8, as a floating 8, or Maddison as a floating 8, with 2 holding mids next to him and play 5-3-2 or 3-5-2.
He'll play Mount, won't he? He loves a bit of Mount, doesn't he?
5-2-1-2. Whichever way you look at it, they have options. He's got a balance right. The only thing I think the argument was about Tomori is Tomori's left-sided. He's naturally left-sided, and he's quick. That back line for England wouldn't inspire you with pace. It's devoid of it. And if you want to play a high line, there's plenty of sides with good quick forwards, even in the group. Aronson for the US, if you play a high line against him, he'll give you nightmares because he can find passes. And they've got quick forwards. Every side is quick forwards.
If we do get knocked out, I'm going all in on America anyway, so it don't really fucking matter.
It's a win-win. That America-England game, I keep saying it, it's a win-win either way. That we have England win, we're all happy. America win, it's a Tyler Adams masterclass.
They should come out of the group, the US. They should come out of the group, and they're a young squad. So
strong squad for by America's standards, definitely.
Yeah, this is something to consider as well. Obviously, Conte keeps mentioning Kane being tired. I think Kane said he was tired as well. And the thing is, with Conte, he's still going to play him at the weekend as well. So there's been all this talk about a winter break and all this talk about players reaching their peak at the right time and all this sort of stuff. So let's see if it actually comes to fruition, because they should be at the peak. But I feel like a lot of them are just on the deck. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks anyway, isn't it? So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. But before we get into the World Cup, of course, it's the Premier League. It's 32 minutes in, and we've not even spoken about Premier League football yet. But let's get into it. We'll start with Wolves versus Arsenal. Arsenal, if they win this game, which I expect they will be top at Christmas. 10 of the last 13 seasons, the team top at Christmas has gone on to win the league. I don't think any of us think they'll win the league, but can we all agree now? Because obviously, as we've gone on, we're like, they're shoo-ins for top 4. But I think we can all agree now they are in a title race, right? Arsenal. Oscar, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way they defend is really underrated. I think defensively, they played Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea had a shot on target in the game. Chelsea couldn't get anything going against them. I think obviously looking at Ben White, Saliba, I think, has been the young player of the season so far. I think for me personally, I think he's been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And then they've got decent depth now as well at the back. And then they've just got so many options. The fact that they're still winning games. Jesus has gone 10 games without a goal, and they're still winning games because they've got goals all over the pitch.
He's still phenomenal, though, isn't he? He's still class. There was a dribble he did in the Chelsea game
this season, despite not scoring that many goals. He's totally changed how they play. He's totally changed how they play. They can press, they can do a bit of everything. I still think City, at the end of the day, you're still talking KDB, Haaland, Foden. It's just a different level of ruthlessness in front of goal for me. And I just think that might be the telling point between the two teams. But I think Arsenal have got a chance now to still be in it by the end of April, maybe going into the start of May. I don't think they'll push City as hard as Liverpool did last season. I still think they might fall away a little bit, but they'll give it a good go. They will give it a good go. I could see them finishing within 5-6 points of City, which is unthinkable at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be. I hope they continue in this trajectory, and then we get that Wolves.
I'd want Arsenal to win it. I'd fully want Arsenal to win it. I've had enough of City winning the title and having it easy. I'm glad to see another team pushing City all the way, and 100%. It's fair play to them. I'd really, out those two, I'd really like really like to see Arsenal win it.
It'd be like I said Wolves, but what I meant is I hope they both continue in this vein, and then we get that Arsenal versus City fixture. It's going to be a great tie, isn't it? Corey, just on Wolves, obviously Lopetegui is now going to come in. That is confirmed. I don't think he's going to take charge until after the World Cup, though. So you're looking at January time. But they are dicing at the minute, our Wolves, and obviously they've still got an issue with the striker. If they weren't to get a striker in January, which I think they will, I think Lopetegui will have been given assurances. But are Wolves in trouble this season, mate?
Yeah, I think so.
Too much quality.
Well, look, I think there's too much quality. I don't think they'll go down. But I do think that they are in a bit of a sticky situation. Let's be honest. I think the managerial issue. I think that was a bit of a hangover anyway from last season. Obviously, they kind of backed Bruno Lage to turn it around, and he has got a good squad of players. I don't think there's no denying it. But then obviously the caretaker coming in, and it's taken way too long. So they've lost a little bit of an opportunity just to kind of clear things up and give himself a bit of breathing room. But I think I said this before about the manager coming in. I do think he's a good manager. I do think it's more of a progressive style that Wolves, the board really more than anything. I'm not sure how the fans will, but they want to see, and I think he turns it around. But I think it's Bruno Lage that said it. They need a centre forward. They need a fit number 9. They probably need 2, to be honest, because I don't think you can hang your hat on. I know Jimenez is out. Possibly you bring him in, but Costa and the other player they signed in the summer, they just don't have either that consistency, level of fitness, or they're just not at their peak. So I think they need to kind of switch the deck on that. But I think they'll be fine, just purely because of those. I think those attacking midfielders, if you can get a tune out of all of them, then there's enough in that team, and it's got a good centre midfield as well. So I think they'll be fine.
Nevers is different gravy, you're right, mate. And look, I mean, they have only scored 8 goals in the league, though. That's the problem, isn't it? You know, they're still on single figures, and I think what the closest to them is probably Forest, and they've got 10, but we know how poor Forest have been. So something does need to change and quick. And like, whatever happened to that Fabio Silva kid that they spent about 30 million?
He's an Anderlecht, mate.
Is he out on loan?
Yeah, he's out on loan.
Yeah. Oh, did he play? Did he? How was he, mate?
Yeah.
I think is he doing all right over there? That it's Belgium, isn't it? Anderlecht, is that right?
Yeah. No idea. He looked okay.
No idea. Yeah, he looked okay.
He was a lot of money, wasn't he? He was what 38 million they brought in. So they do spend Wolves. It's just.
Yeah,
it works.
It's a bit all over. Like I was speaking to a Wolves fan. I think I told you this actually, but the guy they bought in the summer, they bought with a cruciate injury, and Bruno Lage played him anyway, and then he went and snapped his cruciate, and it was like, what you doing? And apparently Jose Sar's playing with a broken hand as well, I think. So fact knows what's going on at Wolves. It's all a bit mad, but yeah, I mean, the one thing's for certain is like, I still can't say who's going to go down. I genuinely can't. I still think Bournemouth will, and I've said Forest for a while. But yeah, it's gonna. I think we're going to lose one of the bigger teams. I think this season. Hopefully not Leeds, if we can put ourselves in that bracket. But Kev, we'll talk about City versus Brentford now. Haaland undoubtedly now he's going to start this one. I've captained him in my FPL anyway. It was a toss-up between him and Salah, and I just thought I can't run the risk of him starting because Brentford, no wins away this season. And I think they've only got 1 win in 9 as well in all competitions. So they're not going great. So if City were to start early and Haaland gets on the score sheet early, I could see a bit of a hiding for Brentford. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Brentford don't travel well, and City will want to finish off this part of the season with a bang. Haaland is going to be his last game now for weeks. You know, he's not going anywhere. So, yeah, you fear for Brentford a bit. This could be, if City are in the mood, this could be anything. They really could. I hope Phillips plays some part in this game. And I want to see, when I watch the game, I want to see if there's players that are going to the World Cup. Are they playing within themselves? I don't expect them to.
I think they will, bro.
I don't know.
Can you imagine getting an announcer? So like Ben White, for example,
yeah.
like he's getting that call up. I can't see him flying into challengers, man.
I just don't know if you're an athlete at that level, can you do it? Can you play within yourself like that in a Premier League game with 50,000 people watching you? I don't think so. I mean, if I'm Ivan Toney, I want to shove it up Gareth Southgate's arse as well.
Yeah.
And the one thing that City will give you, you won't have the ball for very much, but they will give you chances. And the one thing Brentford can do is counter. They've got a decent counter-attacking side. They're quick on the counter, and they're physically strong. So I don't expect them to get anything, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I expect them to put a bit of manners, a bit of honesty on City, that it won't be I don't think it'll be a gimme. I expect probably City to run out comfortable in the end, maybe 3-4-1. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford get a goal. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's the first goal.
It all depends, doesn't it, on how early that first goal comes for City. I think if it comes early, first 10, 15 minutes, then it could be a rout. Oscar, does it surprise you knowing, Brentford only one win in 9 now? They are 11th in the league, just a point above us. I think their home form is just far too good and they're not going to fall into it. But only one win in 9, it has to be a little bit concerning for them.
Yeah, definitely. Consider how good Tony's been this season as well. They've not really had many goals outside of Tony. And that was kind of the reason they got dragged into it at times last season until they got Eriksen in January. They were lacking goals outside of Tony. And definitely defensively, they're nowhere near as resolute as what they were last season. I think obviously Janssen had real injury problems this season. That's hurt him quite a bit. I think Ben Mee, he's nowhere near the level of Janssen for me. And obviously Pinnick's kind of been in and out. So they've been struggling at the back. They haven't really replaced Eriksen either. So I still think Brentford can get dragged in. I don't think they will go down, but I think they can be counted as contenders to go down.
Yeah.
I think anyone kind of below Brighton or Liverpool really is can be considered in it really.
Liverpool might get dragged in, yeah.
We can be right.
I don't know if...
But no, I think they've really got the work cut out this weekend. I think Haaland's back in first start in ages. He's going to get a couple of goals. He might even come off at half time. Alvarez to come on, and it's easy 4-1-ish win.
Yeah, I think so. Right, let's talk about Spurs versus Leeds before we get into the ins and outs of the game. We were talking to Matt obviously during the week, and he seems to think that Spurs fans didn't want a trophy this season. I totally disagree with him. I think a lot of Spurs fans this season expected some sort of silverware with Conte in charge. Now, they haven't won a game in 3. They're out of the Carabao Cup, which for me was probably one of their best chances of winning silverware, especially when you consider now as well, which also disappoints me on reflection that Leeds dropped out, because I think all the teams in London are out. I think obviously Liverpool City's the next game as well, which means you're going to lose one of them as well. So there's a real opportunity there. And for Spurs to not progress, get beat by Forest. I mean, Jesse Lingard scored, for God's sake. That tells you that. They're not going to go great guns in the Champions League. They're just not. I think they'll get knocked out pretty early in that. I'm not sure if they've got in the next round, to be honest, off the top of my head, but they won't go deep into it. They won't win the FA Cup. So, Corey, what's going on? Because for me, the football's rubbish. They might not even get top 4. It's true, though, right? They might not even get top 4, and they're not going to win any silverware. And I know from listening to because I do sample a lot of content. I like fan content. A lot of them were expecting silverware, bro. So as a West Ham fan, I know things aren't going great for you, but you must be enjoying it right now watching this at Spurs, because they're even booing him, right? Like, they're booing at half time and saying, "Oh, this is terrible." Expressions is calling it fossil football and stuff. It's quite funny, actually.
Yeah.
Look at this.
I don't care.
Enjoying it.
It's funny. You asked me the question, knowing full well exactly how I feel about Tottenham Hotspur. That's the devil they play with. That's what they signed up for, and I think that's what Daniel Levy signed up for with Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, and that is the bar. I think it's a little bit, what's the word? a lot of Spurs fans would have expected going into this season and competing. And we said before the season started that this Tottenham team should be looking to go for semi-final or final and be competitive. So I think that should have been the expectation. I appreciate that there are things in that, or people in that Tottenham team that are holding Spurs back. And I think if they've just got a little bit more patience, perhaps, and they give Conte another window and then maybe another one, then they'll be okay. But you got that's what you signed up for. That's what you signed up for. There's no getting around it. And the thing is with having someone like this, you only, for me, you go backwards, because the two managers above are Guardiola and Klopp. So I don't see anyone above Conte as a manager in world football. So for me, you've got to suffer a little bit, as he would say. But yeah, I'm not really in too great a position to be digging out Spurs, particularly where West Ham are at the minute. So I'll just keep it. But he don't play great football either, so I know what he's like.
Yeah, obviously Kulusevski being back's huge for them as well. I know Foggy's just put that in the comments as well, and him coming back in a way is good. I think, Kev, there's a genuine risk that if he doesn't get sufficient backing in January, at the end of the season, he'll do one me. I think.
Well, his contract is up. His contract is up at the end of the summer, so
okay.
He's and he said it in his press conference today. He was asked, he's like, "Yeah, my contract is till the end of the summer, and we'll assess it then," kind of thing. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the problem at Spurs is the manager. He will not, for whatever reason, and he's proven it now all season long, he will not take the reins off that side. If he'd have played the second half against us the same way he played the first half, he'd have blew us out of the water. We couldn't live with him for large parts of that second half. And he's done it so many times. I believe this now. He's terrified to play at that intensity for 90 minutes every game. He doesn't have a deep enough squad to do it, so he'll do it for 45 minutes. And there's so many games this season where they've gone behind in the first half. So many. And they've had to claw games back and then go on and win them. And it's too much of a coincidence now for it not to be a pattern. He's setting him up to play that way. Contain in the first half. And if you score, great. But contain, and then explode in the second half. He's the problem. And he always is the problem, because he's a terrible record in Europe for a simple reason that when he comes up against the good sides just blow him off the park over two legs. And it doesn't matter where he is. This is his mentality. He's always been this way. And that's why I can't stand watching Spurs. It's because of the manager. It's the way he approaches football. It's horrible. And the way that Spurs fans were raised and reared on watching football, to go into a season and turn around after spending what they spent and say, we don't think we're going to win any silverware this year, then what the hell what's the point? You know, what's the point in football if you're not able to win something? You're just peeing against the wind. You're just wasting your money. It's not a cheap place to go to a game either. So I love the League Cup, mate. Absolutely love it. For the main reason is you get to see the squad. It's a great competition if you can win it, because you wrap up a European place, you bed it off in February. But it's a great competition to keep the whole squad interested and invested. If you get knocked out, that means all you've got is the Premier League. If you're a manager, you know you've got your core 11 and you've got your core 6 outside of that you're going to play with. If you're outside that, you know, the rest of your season, you're waiting for someone that hopefully might get injured. But that's the rest of your season. You're out of everything else. They've drew AC Milan in the Champions League. Right. And I mean, February's a long way off. Anything can happen between now and then. But if they don't invest in January, he's going to walk. Mm. If they do invest in January, he's going to want a serious wedge. They need 2 centre-backs. They need a goalkeeper. They need at least another striker. And he didn't want Jed Spence. That's why Jed Spence isn't playing.
Never plays, yeah.
No, Spence was brought in over his head. That's why Jed Spence may as well just go and look for another club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And as long as Conte is there, the likes of Jed Spence won't get a game ahead of Matt Doherty. Mm. That tells you everything you need to know. He's an egomaniac. It's his way or no way.
Yeah, there is. There is probably a lot in that, mate. I know Oscar's a Conte fan, but let's talk about the game, Oscar. As a Leeds United fan, I'm actually quite chipper about this one, which sounds a bit mad. It might be the fact that we've won 2 on the bounce. I know it's a tough place to go, but Spurs are in the best run of form. And I just think because of how slow they have started games and how energetic and aggressive we can be from the off, I think as long as we're clinical, we could find ourselves a couple of goals up, if I'm being totally honest. And that might seem wild, but I just think the likes of Dyer, etc., from the back can be got at, especially with the likes of Aronson in the press and Adams in the midfield. So, and Højbjerg and that, I know he's been quite a standout and for Spurs this season specifically, because I know a lot wanted him binned off, but he has been good. I just think no Son. I don't know if Richarlison will make it. I'm not sure. I think Kulusevski's touch and go. Maybe if he'll start. If he starts, that's a different kettle of fish. But I just think, Oscar, with how slow they've been starting game, there is a real opportunity here for Leeds United.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. I'm not like fearful of Tottenham.
No,
I don't fear them. To be totally honest with you,
you're more confident in this than you would have been when we went to Anfield, right?
Of course. But there's no doubt if Tottenham turn up, if Kane's on it, Kulusevski's on it, Richarlison's on it, they can score 3 or 4 goals here. I'm not going to doubt that. But you see the way Tottenham play in the first halves that but maybe our energy can hurt them a little bit. You've got to remember as well, they put quite a strong team out at Forest. They had at least 7 or 8 players who I think will play tomorrow. We only really had 2 or 3 at most, so that's going to be a bit of a factor as well in terms of fatigue and that lot. We know, obviously Leeds have had little bits of issues with fatigue as games have gone on, but hopefully that won't be as much of an issue for us tomorrow. What I will say is, I know our record's been much better against the top teams. There's no doubt about that when we've had less of the ball. But I do think Tottenham are a top team, but they don't play like a top team. They're very defensive. We've already said it. They sit deep. So we still will have quite a bit of the ball. We will still have to break Tottenham down. Not like Liverpool. Whenever we got the ball back against Liverpool, both fullbacks are basically in our box. And it's just basically Van Dijk and Gomez up against like 3 or 4 players. We won't get those scenarios as much tomorrow. So we will have to be, with the likes of Aronson, Somerville, Gnonto, we'll have to pick the lock a little bit, so to speak. It will be, quite difficult to break them down. But there's mistakes in that Spurs back line. We've already said Dyer, horrendous mistake against Liverpool. Horrendous mistake. Ones that you just can't make when you're in your mid-20s. You can't be making those kind of mistakes for me, because it's kind of, you hit a certain level as a footballer. Fullbacks wise, defensively, I don't think they're particularly good either. The wing backs, I think they can be got at. So there's plenty of ways we can get at them, but I still think this is a tricky one. I'm not as confident as what you are saying. There could be a couple of goals up at half time, but I think we'll give them a game tomorrow. I really do think we'll give them a game, and but I think the way Kane, for starters, is a big problem for us. The fact that he's going to attract the likes of Koch and Cooper to kind of man mark him, and then he's going to fly that ball over into Kulusevski, Richarlison. That pacing behind, we struggled with that a little bit. So there's still ways they can hurt us. I think it's a difficult one. I don't think there'll be more than a goal in it either way, to be honest.
Just another update. Bournemouth have made Marcelo Bielsa their sole target. Former Leeds boss Bielsa is believed to be keen on making a surprise return to English football on the South Coast. Because what I did see in response to Ornstein's tweets was a lot of Leeds fans going, "Don't make me laugh." Look, there's no smoke without fire, and when it's Ornstein reporting it's closer than what a lot. This isn't just a nobody kind of vibe. I genuinely will be absolutely gutted if he rocks up at Bournemouth. Like, fair play to them, but as a Leeds United fan, that would be tough for me. And yeah, we're going to watch Jesse Ball and then see Bournemouth tear teams apart, man. I can't deal with that, man, honestly. Anyway, let's move it on. Hopefully Leeds United will win. I think we're definitely in with a shout and maybe can make it 3 on the spin. Newcastle versus Chelsea. Corey, I'll come to you. Do you think, obviously, Chelsea, I think it's 6 games now without a win, domestic games anyway. Do Newcastle go into these as favourites, and can they genuinely get top 4, bro?
Oh, What a question, mate. Yeah, look, I mean, you're gonna have to start considering them soon. I think I need a little bit more time to get on that bandwagon. I think we mentioned about squad depth before, and maybe Newcastle looking at bringing a few in just to add to that first 11 that when it's all fit looks relatively good. But I think they cause Chelsea real issues, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see whether Callum Wilson plays or not. Apparently he's been ill in training, so perhaps he won't. I'm not sure how much to read into that. More like he just wants to keep fresh for the World Cup. But even so, there are a lot of players in that Newcastle team. And we spoke about Eddie Howe being able to get the most out of the squad that he already had, and Almiron's probably the biggest one that I couldn't see coming in a month for Sundays. But Almiron, Bruno Guimaraes, he's fantastic. Sven Botman, they got a good team. But for me, in terms of that top four race, I don't know how much staying power that they've got. But what they have got now is momentum, and they've got a very, very happy squad, and they've got that thing where the fans believe in it and the players do as well. And Eddie Howe, I think, shown himself to be a very, very good coach. I always thought he was decent, but the fact that he's been able to maintain this momentum from last season and into this season is very, very impressive. Appreciate they bought a lot of players, but even so, he deserves plaudits for it.
And it'll be interesting, won't it, to see if they are obviously in and around the top four, which I think they probably will be now, regardless of results at the weekend. Be interested to see if they do start to spend a little bit more of that money as well, Corey, obviously in January, with hopes of saying, do you know what? There's a realistic possibility of Europe here. Let's throw some cash here.
They've got it. That's the thing. They've got the ability to do that, and I think Isak's injured at the minute. But again, that's a player that the more you see of him, and the more that he can impact on that side, the more dangerous they look. But that is the big caveat, isn't it? Obviously, they've been plucked as that team that's going to break that big six, but they probably will in Jan if they can. And to be honest, I think the interesting thing with Newcastle and when that ownership come in was it felt like it was a very steady progression. I don't think they quite imagined them to be necessarily in this position now. So it'll be interesting to see whether, like you say, they may well flex their muscles, because if they've got an opportunity to get in Europe already, then that's a massive. That is a big statement, because European football is a massive thing to go and build again. So I'm sure they'll spend if they can.
Yeah, and when you can bring players like Bruno Guimaraes in when you're literally in a relegation battle and there's noise that you might go down, imagine now being able to attract the players when they're actually sat comfortably in the top four. It's going to be interesting there, Newcastle's January. Kev, just on Chelsea, I proper rate Potter. I think all of us do. I think we've all spoke about Potter before and all said we rate him. I think maybe the owner will look to give him time. But do you think the Chelsea fans, who have been spoiled, obviously, for a very long time and are used to turnaround of managers season after season in the hunt for success, and it's worked for them, but do you think the fan base will give Potter the time?
I don't know how much time he's going to have, because there is an argument that maybe the job came a bit too soon for him. And sometimes with new clubs, it's with managers, up-and-coming managers, it's more important to pick the right owner and pick the right club as it is to take the chance when it comes. He was at the perfect club for him, but, Chelsea might not come knocking again.
Yeah. We
don't know, but nobody knows what Bowley's going to do. This is the thing. He's a complete unknown when it comes to football. He's fired everyone that was associated with Chelsea before. So everyone from Bruce Buck down is gone. So it's his baby. It's his money that's in it. And I don't, for the life of me, looking at that Chelsea squad now and looking at what they're doing and how they're playing, and not a case of how they're reacting when they go behind, more importantly than anything else, because they were shocking at the weekend against Arsenal, is the manager's the easy target, but the playing staff is a real problem there. And just because they've spent big money doesn't mean they've spent it well.
They have spent it so poorly when you consider they've spent like $250 million in the state of that squad, isn't it?
It's horrendous.
It's looking very expensive. Very expensive now.
I think Potter probably will, if things keep going the way they're going, I think he'll get the chop. But it's not going to be through anything that he's done. It'll be just the circumstances and panic, because I'll be honest, Newcastle are such a hard side to beat and I think they've only had one loss this season. So they're really in a strong position to get fourth. If you're assuming that Man City and Arsenal are going to get Champions League, that leaves one spot open for everyone else to scrap over. I would look at Chelsea and say, I just don't see it. I don't see how they get in there. Manchester United are doing well. You know, it's one of those, of all of the sides that are in and around fighting for a Champions League spot, Chelsea look the least well equipped to do it. And that's not down to the manager. That's down to the squad and the availability of players. There's too many players in that squad robbing a living. And they talk about Liverpool should have been more ruthless in the transfer market and binning players off. You know, the likes of Kante is on big, huge money at that club, and he's offered nothing for the last year. You know, this is where Kai Havertz, another one, came in 70 odd million quid, technically a brilliant footballer, and you see him playing for Germany in the World Cup, and you look at Timo Werner playing for Germany in the World Cup, and you'll be looking at him thinking, how are they doing this for them? And then you turn up and put a blue top on you, and you look like you don't know how to play football. You know, it looks like someone showed you football at 12 o'clock and say, here, this is your job now. You know, you're on your YTS scheme. go and have a go. You know,
I know. Well, Chelsea Rory said that Havertz would win the Ballon d'Or. He was a future Ballon d'Or winner. I remember the comments. So.
When he was signed, he had everything. He had the world at his feet, didn't he? Because he was banging goals. He was playing. He'd broken into the German side. He was 21 years of age. The modern, new centre forward, 6'3", big, strong, powerful, technically good on the ball. It's just this league finds players out.
Yeah,
you know, it does. I've seen plenty of really top quality players come to this league and flop and go elsewhere. The one that sticks in my mind more than anyone is divert a bit. Iago Aspas. Iago Aspas came to Liverpool, done nothing. Went back to Spain and he's flying. Some players suit certain leagues and certain clubs. They've just got Chelsea have got too many of that. They've got too many luxuries that just don't give a return on the pitch, and it could end up costing Potter his job. And I mean, he'll get another top job. Don't get me wrong, but because I do think he's an excellent coach, and it might suit England long term. But I
hope he does get sacked, bro, because I'd take him in a month for some days, man. 100%.
No, it's taking me for Leeds fans. When you see the likes of Lopetegui ended up at Wolves, you know, 4 years ago, he was let go from Spain, taking them to the World Cup, going to Madrid. You know what I mean? People can't tell me that there isn't top quality managers out there looking to get into this league. There are
100%. You know? Right, let's talk.
Just to say, Potter, it's never a good fit. Him and Chelsea. Chelsea just don't want managers like that.
No, yeah. He needs a project, doesn't he? And he needs to know that he's going to be there for a while.
Tottenham might be a good bet. You know, if Conte leaves, feels like a decent little solution, maybe.
Potentially. Let's talk about another manager that's just come in the door as well. How is everyone for time? Because I'm aware we've still got a bit to go for. Everyone good, yeah?
I've got about 20 minutes, mate.
20 minutes, right. Okay. I'll be quick as I can, bro. Just a new manager. I know you need to shoot as well, don't you, Kev? So it looks like it'll be
30 minutes.
Yeah, cool. We'll be done. We'll be done by then. It'll just be me and Corey anyway. It's cool. A new manager that's come in the door that we're quite aware of, Oscar, in Nathan Jones, obviously previously at Luton and Stoke in the Championship. Went back to Luton and a game was successful at Luton. I think he brought them up from League One, didn't he? Did well. Went to Stoke, went back and got them into the playoffs last season. He's got another a bigger job. How do you see it going, mate? I think it's a massive risk, and I would put Southampton down there. But I rate Nathan Jones. I actually think he's a good coach. It's just whether or not. I mean, you get them managers, don't you, that just work well with that football club. And he's obviously tried it at Stoke, didn't go well. Now he's going to Southampton Force, and obviously Ralph's been sacked as well, man. I bet he was crying his eyes out.
It's hard to say with Jones, really. I think, obviously, look at the job he's done at Luton. I think he was Championship Manager of the season last season. Done an unreal job, but you kind of see him with Carlos Corberán, obviously going from Huddersfield to Olympiacos. That just completely flops. That project completely. I know he's gone to West Brom now. So you don't actually really know. Obviously the Premier League's a totally different beast. But yeah, I think it's a decent one. I think he's probably made the right choice because realistically, is he ever going to get Luton over the line into the Premier League? Probably not. But yeah, I think obviously they'll be better defensively. I think there's no doubt about that. I think they'll be a little bit less expansive than what they were under Hasenhüttl. I don't think they'll be as reliant on pressing teams. I think they'll drop off a little bit more. And I think the biggest test, obviously, is to start off with at Liverpool. Obviously, can they sit in and defend okay against Liverpool? You can't get a much bigger test than that, really. So you'll see from there. I think, obviously, there'll have definitely been assurances about the transfer window. I'd have thought for him to leave that job, considering how little Southampton tend to spend. You'd think he's had some kind of assurance there. They need a striker, Southampton. Ultimately, I don't think when you watch them play, I don't think they're a terrible team. I definitely don't think that. I think in general, for 88.
Well, Danny Ings used to bang, didn't he? When he was there, Danny Ings used to score all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a potential for goals in that team. Like to have Aribo. There's creativity there. I think obviously the fullbacks as well. Walker Peters, I think, is good going forward. James Ward-Prowse's delivery. There's goals in that Southampton team. That's what they need to add. And defensively, if they can sort it out, they might have a chance of staying up now. It's very hard to say, mate. I don't think there's any guarantees of this one. When you compare it to like Emery going to Villa and Lopetegui going to Wolves, it's obviously a much lower. I think Nathan Jones has admitted that himself. But maybe of those younger players in that Southampton team, the players that have just come through, Lavia as well. Maybe they will respond quite well to Nathan Jones' management because he's clearly a good man manager. He's revived a lot of careers at Luton. In terms of, he's had like people like Cameron Jerome banging them in, in the championship level. He must be about 46 now. So he's got. It'll be interesting to see how he does. From a Leeds point of view, I hope he massively flops like he did at Stoke. If he flops like he did at Stoke, Southampton will 100% go down. But we'll see. Be interesting.
We will see. Kev, are you concerned about a new manager bounce at all at the weekend against Southampton?
You don't know what you're going to get. This is the thing. We've already played Brighton with a new manager. Brighton was in a different space because Potter had them playing really well and they were really well drilled. And the manager literally said he came in. He said, I ain't changing nothing. Just go out and do what you've been doing. And if anything happens, I look great. If we get beat, then I've got a job to do. He's only had a few days. There's not an awful lot you can do in a few days. But Southampton are one of these sides. They're packed with. I think it's to do with the owners changing the model that they want to work to, and they want to go back to the days where they were bring young players through, sell them on for profit. They want to go back to those days. If he can keep them up, it'll be a hell of an achievement. It'll be a hell of an achievement. But there's definitely, I think, a willingness to invest. But they've got one player, I think, going to the World Cup. So it's ideal, really. Krotzkamp or something. The German centre-back.
Bella Kotchap.
Yeah, he's going to the World Cup. But everyone else, I don't think anyone else is. So he played the game tomorrow. They'll probably have a week off. Come back, and he's got the bones of a pre-season to work and assess what he wants to do before a ball is kicked again, and then the window opens a week later. This is why you could see an awful lot of turnover of managers in this window because they've never had no side has ever had this luxury of December off to assess where you are, and reevaluate everything and go again. That's why January could be huge for every club. But it's possible. We rested a lot in the week. I don't think anyone played Wednesday night that'll be involved will be involved. So everyone's had the week off. So I think we'll go for as full strength as possible and try and it's vital we get a win. We got 3 points against Spurs, but that was holding on for dear life in parts of it. So, 3 points is all I care about. I couldn't care if it's a scuttery fucking 1-0. 3 points is all I give a shit about.
Yeah, and I think you're right in terms of Southampton being lucky that they've only got the one going away in Bella Kotchap. Leeds United have only got 3 going away, the 2 Americans and Rasmus Christensen. So Jesse's sort of saved his job with the last couple of results and means that he's going to get another mini pre-season in effect, and then players in January. So Jesse, yeah, it's come at the right time for him for sure. And
I can't wait to see the likes of Gnonto with a full pre-season behind him. You know, he's fully ready to maybe start games for us by that point. You know, after that second pre-season, effectively.
Yeah, I think he starts tomorrow in ahead of Jack.
I
to
hope
be
so.
honest. Yeah,
I think he has to for me. I think.
Yeah.
Listen, I really like Jack Harrison. Everyone knows I like Jack Harrison, but you know, it's something I didn't mention before. But I think it's almost a given now, isn't it? Would you say in terms of the difference in performance?
Yeah, he's fallen off a cliff a little bit. Right, let's move it on to Corey's team, West Ham versus Leicester City. We spoke about it briefly right at the start, but these West Ham fans are now on the back of David Moyes. You know, maybe success in such a short space of time. It's raised the expectations, as you said earlier. But I think furthermore to that as well, it's the fact of the business that you've done as well when you're bringing in Paqueta, when you're bringing in Scamacca. It's not just, you know, they're big players, right, to bring to West Ham. So I can sort of understand the disgruntled West Ham fans, if I'm being honest, because before the season started, you're pushing for Europe again. Now it's like, if we don't go well in this Conference League, we're not getting Europe. And then you're losing Rice. You then lose, you know what I mean? You know how it goes, bro.
No. Loud and clear. But yeah, look, I mean, I can't lie that we've not kicked on where we should have kicked on. I think it's not. I mean, there are a lot of things involved. I actually think at points we're playing quite similar to last season. The big one that goes under the radar massively is we are making consistent errors week in, week out. That as poor as we've been going forward, or we haven't been clinical, sometimes we don't create enough chances. It's the errors that are costing us in these games. We're not keeping it tight enough to go, we can win a 1-0. We're talking about teams that don't play particularly attractive football and winning games 1-0, and that's unfortunately just not what we're doing at the minute. But there is an expectation 100% with some of the players that we've got now. Even on Wednesday, we played a back five against Blackburn, a second string Blackburn team. And I'm not against it if you play it in the right way. And I've seen us play it for 60 minutes in the Conference League against Anderlecht perfectly. But when he doesn't seem to be able, unfortunately, at the minute, to take the front foot. I think off the ball, West Ham aren't good enough. I don't think we press well enough, not nearly as much as we should be. And I think now we're getting to a problem where even at home, we're not taking enough onus on ourselves to go and control games, or even out of possession or in possession. So it is a nightmare. Leicester come into it. I mean, they look very, very good. I was quite impressed with them against Everton, to be honest. I think they're ticking along now. I think James Maddison is... I'm happy he's gone to the World Cup, because watching him, he absolutely runs it for Leicester. And if you're going to try and stop them creating chances, West Ham have got to get close to him. But I am very, very concerned. There are things in there as well, just to point this out. When we played Palace, he took off Ben Rama on the 60th minute. The whole crowd turned. Again, he took Souček off, and everyone cheered. And I obviously didn't cheer Souček. Now I can't see that. I don't like it. But also he has the opportunity to put little things right with selection choices, and Souček should really be dropped. And I've said to you for a long time, it should be Flynn Downs really playing alongside Declan Rice. And Ben Rama's probably been one of our best players this season, so he has to start. So David Moyes has got to help himself a little bit here. He has got things to fall back on, but he just needs a result, to be honest. For me, he can't lose Saturday at home, because I'm worried even 10, 15 minutes in, if it's a poor performance, that it's going to get really toxic. So he's got to pull something out, and hopefully he does, but it's not looking great.
He'll have the full backing of the board, though, right? You think?
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's like West Ham's board, or Gold and Sullivan, have always been West Ham staying in the Premier League is the priority. Obviously, the past 2 years have been completely different to that. So I think he'll have a hell of a lot of leeway. And to be honest with David Moyes, I feel like he should anyway. Look, he has been poor, and some of the decisions he's making are strange, and we're not playing well. But he should have enough. They should have enough patience with him, at least till you look to your January. If we're still in the same position at February, or it's looking vulnerable, then yeah, we can have a conversation. But to be honest, I think they'll stick with him. It's the fans more than anything. The fans are getting the right ump with it, and I can't really defend it. I can't defend it. Some of it is horrendous.
You need a result, mate. 'Cause like I say, Leicester are above you in the table. If they were to beat you, I mean, we could be talking about relegation alongside Liverpool, bro. So you need to sort your shit out, really. To be, here's me that we're up in 12th, and I'm swinging my bits around.
We'll be a couple of goals up at half time.
Yeah, I said that, did I? I did. Wow, yeah. Get too giddy me after a couple of results, mate. I hope it turns around for you, like I said. And you go on and win the Conference League, and then you get back into Europe that way, brother. That's how it should be.
That's what we need, mate. To be honest, it's looking like one of them. Throw everything at it.
It is what it is, though, bro. Innit? If you win a European competition, regardless of it, yeah, exactly. I never get. It's that elite mentality in it from the top 6 sides. I'm like, I don't want no Conference League. For me, I'd give me Conference League every day of the week, brother, man. I'd take it. It's like Kev, man, with his football and the World Cup and that. As an England fan, I'm like, I don't care how we play. If we win it,
I got no vested interest in it. So.
Yeah. Couple more games then. Forest take on Palace, Bournemouth, Everton. We were going to talk about Gary O'Neill and the fact that it was going to be his last game in charge. Do you think it's unfair? We now know they're after Bielsa, so Bournemouth can just get in the bin. I'm not about that life. Brighton versus Villa. Unai Emery's had Unai Emery's had a decent start to his career at Villa. He got a great result in the league, obviously, against Manchester United. Oscar, how far do you think he can take Villa? I know they lost, obviously, midweek, but, just it's like chalk and cheese, the Villa that we're seeing in terms of goal scoring and getting points, as opposed to what was happening under Gerrard, isn't it, mate? In just a short space of time. So, and we spoke about Villa before. They've got that backing, so they could really, maybe not this season, but the future's bright for them with him in charge.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember he left Villarreal. Villarreal made the Champions League semi-finals to take this job, so he clearly feels that he can go further in his career with Villa than what he could with Villarreal. So there's definitely big potential there. This season, there's a chance top half, maybe. Slight outside chance of top half. They're not a million miles away from it right now. I think the big thing for me with Emery at Villa will be the cup competitions. I think he's always been brilliant in the knockout competitions. He's done it with Sevilla. He's done it with Villarreal. He almost did it with Arsenal. He's proven in them cup competitions. Yeah, I know the Europa League's slightly different but it's the same idea. Knockout games. You're absolute specialist in knockout games. He beat Man United in his first game. In terms of he knows how to beat the top teams. He knows how to frustrate them. It's not the best football to watch in the world, but yeah, Emery I think is going to be a really, really good appointment. I think Emery's a better appointment than Lopetegui. I do think out of the two, in terms of really eye-catching appointments. Obviously, Bielsa's coming into. You've got them 3 managers coming in basically in the next couple of months or so. But yeah, Emery's. I think Emery's a safer bet than what Lopetegui is at Wolves. So yeah, I can't see them finishing any lower than where they are now. I can only see them moving up. It just depends what they do in January, really. I still think up front, they maybe do need that top-level striker. I think Ollie Watkins, he just lacks the goals. Danny Ings, a little bit similar to an extent to maybe what some would say Rodrigo is. He will get you the odd goal, but does he give you enough elsewhere kind of thing? So I do still think they need to do some business there. Definitely centre-backs as well. Obviously, with Diego Carlos being out, they will need to do some business. So I expect them to. I do expect them to. So outside chance of top half, we'll see.
And let's. I just want to finish on Manchester United. Obviously, they take on Fulham. They were humbled a little after that Villa result. As I say, sample a lot of content. They were on a decent run, and obviously Villa put them to the sword. And maybe they've had to temper their expectations a little bit. I guess the question I ask, Kev, is top 4 too far for Manchester United this season?
Depends on what they do in January and if they can get Ronaldo out of the club.
Yeah, that's right. Why did he make him captain? Like, what the fuck are you doing? He handled it so well, but to then bring him back in, which I thought was mad anyway, but to then make him captain was insane.
I gave up trying to understand that club a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, look, they've got all the tools to be able to get top 4. It's whether they got the stones to do it. With a lot of clubs, the second half of the season, depending on how squads come back after the World Cup, will tell a lot. I just had a quick look there. There's 5-point gap between Villa and Fulham in the table. That's nothing. You've seen what Leicester have done going on a run of games of 3-4 wins. The table is just so condensed at the minute. Anything can happen. United will fancy themselves to get top 4. Given the talent that they have at the squad, that should be the target. I don't think they will. I think they'll fluff their lines in the second half of the season. They'll just be, there's too many games are going to come and they could get found out. And Fulham will probably fancy this. They've got nothing to lose. They've got players themselves going to the World Cup, and they'll want to. They've had a really good, bright start to the season. I think, where are they in the table? I think Fulham are 9th at the minute. United are 5th. There's only 4 points in it. There's 4 points between the two. Fulham go to beat United. There's only a point between the two. And Fulham are one of those sides that if you have a weakness, especially if you're aerially weak or struggle in the air, they'll find you out. And United have got issues. They can be got at in the air. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Fulham got something. That's the truth. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Fulham got something. Yeah, it could be a bit of heart ruling head, but I watched the Villa game the other night, and a 4-2 scoreline really flatters United. It was one of those games that up to 70 minutes, it could have gone either way. They didn't really grab anything. They didn't look special. Let's put it that way. They didn't look anything out of the ordinary. And some of the crowd were restless at halftime. So it's like the longer Fulham can keep it level or keep it tight, the more restless they get, the more impatient they get. The players get nervous. Anything could happen.
No, I think there probably is something in that. Fulham have looked good this season. Corey, I'll finish with you, Brooks. It's just reminded me. What did you make to Marcus Rashford getting in the England squad?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Bit of a mad one, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. There was kind of that rumour anyway that he was looking at him, and obviously with 2018, and he has come back into some form.
Yeah,
but,
he's in good form.
He's good. He's a good player, and I think he'll be an interesting option for England anyway on that left-hand side. I imagine some of these games will be looking to counter-attack on teams that perhaps it's
as long as it's not penalties, yeah.
Yeah, but mate, I did think it was a little bit rogue to be honest. But on that point, I think I would have gone with possibly 2 centre forwards behind Kane. I would have gone Tony and Wilson if I was gonna do that. And but it is what it is. Like I'm happy.
Can Bowen feel unfortunate?
No,
genuinely.
No, I'd love to say he could, but
if you're an England fan and you're looking at who can I play on the right hand side of a front three, Saka's the one.
Saka, yeah.
Who else would you? Who else can you? Sterling doesn't look effective. Foden, I've never trusted on the right hand side. I've always thought he's better central and left. I think Bowen's unlucky. Form has let him down, but the volume of games that West Ham have played this season have not helped. West Ham have played so much football, and it almost seems like the same players are going to the well so many times that it's just caught up with them.
Do you know what? I do wonder whether Bowen having a month and a half off a month and a bit off will help him massively, because he doesn't. To me, he doesn't look like the same player that finished last season, and it's sad because I think as a player he offers England, albeit probably wouldn't start on that right hand side of the Saka, but he does offer England something different in that final third. But I personally can't defend him because I think he's been actually very lucky to continue to start this season. There are games where Moyes should have dropped him, but I don't know. Like you say, Kev. I mean, some of these West Ham players have played a lot of football, and Declan, to be honest, didn't start the season that well either because of the amount of football he's played. So it's a tough one, but on form. And they're sitting there and thinking, I always mentioned about James Maddison before, but when they bring up those stats and they talk about goal contributions and look at how much Jared Bowen was at the forefront, and now I look at James Maddison, I'm like, it's crazy to me Maddison didn't get a sniff before, because that record is nuts.
Shouldn't have gone to the casino at the Bell End.
Mate, I've started watching James Maddison. I'm all over it now. I'm like, get me, God, he's good.
Yeah, it's now been reported on Sky Sports News that Bournemouth have held talks with ex-Leeds boss BL. So.
Whatever I can't see can't hurt me.
I can't fucking believe this, you know. I can't, man.
And you've demonetised your video at the end.
I can't believe this.
That's going to kill you, isn't it?
Oh, bro, you don't understand.
Imagine if Bielsa puts on an absolute masterclass.
This is becoming a Bournemouth fan channel.
Have you checked to see when Leeds play Bournemouth next?
Football show.
I'm telling you, man, I've already tweeted out a picture of cherries. I just tweeted out the cherry emoji. So, do you know what it is, though? So many Leeds fans will see that and go, it's Leeds United, not Bielsa United. They'll be triggered by it. So that's why I've done it. It's funny. It's funny. But yeah, I definitely will be doing watch-alongs of all Bournemouth games from this day forth. Oh, God, Marcelo!
Guys, I'll have to shoot off anyway.
Yeah,
I need to
we're
do
finished anyway, bro.
If you want to check us out, I'm doing my All Leeds TV. We're doing a big match preview right now on the channel. If you want to check us out,
you'll be getting shouted at. Sorry, bro. Head on over now to All Leeds TV because I'm about to finish. So go on over there and watch.
Cheers, guys. See you later. And this will be
Oscar.
called the Just Cherries Football Show next time we're on the show.
Definitely will.
Cheeky
Oscar
Cherries Football Show.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oscar will be getting all sorts of messages now going, where the fuck are you, man? Where are you?
Yeah.
So we better leave it. Yes.
Thank
you, Corey. Kev, cheers. We'll end it there. You can't see, can you, bro? Peace. Everyone out